I'm Robin Brown, independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up! And this morning we're going to make 4 different cards that what they call CASED, which is an acronym for Copy and Share Everything. And that allows me to copy and share anything I see on Pinterest or any of the places really that Stampin' Up! Demonstrators post at. So this first one looks very complicated, but it is so easy that you will be amazed. First off, the interesting part of it, the background paper, comes from our new DSP collection called On the Horizons. Let's see, what is it called? New Horizons DSP. And so what we're going to do in order to I wanted to be able to use this to get 2 cards, not just one, so I wouldn't have to waste paper, because all the other demonstrators are cutting this down to a card front size, and that only allows you to use one. So what I did first was just cut this directly in half. And there's a lot of different scenes in the paper. This was one I just decided. Now, this one is the one I used for this particular card. I'm purposely going to use the opposite one to see how it comes out, because I didn't use that side yet. So what I'm going to do first is cut off everything but the sky up here on the top. Oops, that's a scoring blade, not a cutting blade. There we go. So now we just have sky up there. And then we want to turn this around. It is, I forgot what the dimension is. I wrote it down, but it is 3 by 4 1/4. I knew that, but I just couldn't call it in my head. So we're going to set this at 4 1/4. So we're going to cut this off the bottom. That maintains our sky, but gives us the correct size for the front of the card. That's the basis of the background of the card. So first thing we're going to do is
Just curious, what's on the back side of that paper? Oh, more scenery. Wow.
Oh yeah. Let me show you the pack.
I probably should go get my catalog.
It's on my list.
Yeah, it's on mine too.
It's a really easy way to make cards. So I'll just go through fan through these real quick because it stays clear. So you got this one. And
That's
the back
pretty.
side looks like that. You have this one, which can go this way or this way. Who knows what way? And that's the back side there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this one. The back side is that. We're going to use this on our 3rd card that we make. We're also going to use a piece of this on our 3rd card. And that's the back of that.
The storm.
Mist on the lake. Yeah.
Sunrise, sunset, whatever. Purple on the back.
Ooh. Purpley purple.
This is the one that we're using today, and the back side looks like that one. This is another similar looking one to that Mist on the Lake that you mentioned.
Looks like a dock.
Mm-hmm.
This one looks more like ice on a pond, I think. Oops. Wintry. Mm, This is sort of op art kind of, I don't know,
Those look like buildings, are they?
mountains or buildings,
Mountains, okay.
houses, kind of farm.
I was gonna say like houses in the snow.
Yeah,
And then this is the backside of
Yeah.
it. Looks like a meadow.
pretty.
And yet another. And you get 4 sheets of each of these.
Wow.
And they're, they're 6 by 6.
6, yeah.
Pretty.
Some tie-dye. And then this is the last one.
Very nice. Thanks for doing that.
No problem. I just got a pack of it yesterday, so I was able to to show you, because otherwise it was all be in the card kits. All right. So we're going to get the On the Horizon stamp set. And somewhere over here on my desk should be a tree stamp. This is the On the Horizon stamp set. We're going on this card, we're going to use the trees, the thinking of you, and the birds on this one. So we're going to get our trees, and we'll open our evening evergreen stamp pad. And I'm going to decide where we're going to put the forest on this particular.
Can't see the forest for the trees.
They're kind of already there. So let me see what it looks like if I kind of put them over here on the hill. All right,
Yeah.
that looks good. That looks better than this one, which seems to be,
Oh my gosh, I was just gonna say that. The line going through the trees. I like it better on the other on this piece.
and then on this one, I was going to take some evening evergreen and ink and fill that in so it doesn't look like they're
Mhm.
just wandering in there. And then we're going to do the birds next. And I'm going to use some Memento Black. Yeah, it comes right back. I'm working around the camera now. This is really odd this morning. So there's enough room to get all the and the birds. I almost stamped them upside
Oh,
down.
yeah, I was gonna say you always get them upside down.
You really have to watch them. Some of the birds have their wings flapped down and some of them have them flapped up. So you have to
Watch.
Oh,
be
they were just
careful which way they're going.
zooming down.
And you
believe it or-
stamped those in black, right?
Yes,
Oh
I
yes.
did.
Okay.
On
Yeah.
this one, yes. Believe it or not, that's all the stamping that's required on the front of the card.
Hmm.
So let me get out some other little pieces here. You're going to have some, these are the pebble enamel shapes. They're in the same suite as the On the Horizon suite. And I should have another piece of date here somewhere. Yes. We do. Okay. These are cut with the New Horizon dies. And this is just a scrap of 3/8 by whatever, and then we're going to trim it. So we're going to get out our, I gotta watch where I'm putting things so you can still see the evening evergreen again. And this is Thinking of You. I'm going to try to get it straight. Sort of straight. It's not the best. And then all I'm going to do is take this and cut the ends off at an angle like so, make a parallelogram. Just like that. Okay. Now you could have stamped it right on soft succulents paper. For some reason, I like the look of the blending of the just coloring it with a blender pen. So if you stamp this with water-based ink, you can go right over the top with your alcohol marker and it won't smudge. But if you don't have the markers, go ahead and use a piece of soft succulent. I just like the kind of variations in the color. It kind of looked like a watercolor wash on it. Just hides some lights and darks poking through. And that's all I did for the sentiment. When you're under pressure under the camera, what color is it? Okay. That looks pretty good. All righty. And that will eventually go up yonder somewhere. And then you have to think of what you're going to do with these gates. Now, if you put them both on there, it's going to be too much. So on this one, I cut it down to there was only 4 pickets. Well, actually, there's 4 on both sides. So this one would be 4. 2. And this one will be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's kind of a shorty here. Well, it's because it's upside down and backwards. That's why it looked odd. There are little pickets on top of the fence, so it goes that way. But this one still only gets 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's much smaller. Okay.
So it's opening out into the field.
Yeah. On this one, it did look like it was a path. So I kind of like the looks of this one because it looks like it's going into a path there on this particular sample, but I wanted to see how we could make the other half of the paper look. So experiment here. And then we just glue that. And you could move this, maybe, let me see if I move that down there where that puts our fence. No, that covers up the flowers. I like it up here better. So, put it like so. Reminds me of Lassie, Lassie, come on.
The flower peeking through the fence there.
Yep. Just some wildflowers. And then we pick up these pebbles. And these are not the ones I need for this particular card. What are they? They're supposed to be 5 of them, 5 or 6 pebbles in this particular. They also have these similar, here, there they are. You'll get a strip of 6 of them. They have those in a sea glass. look very similar. Now,
Actually, I saw those.
I've noticed that they're a little bit more difficult to get off of the plastic than a regular gem is. And there is a possibility of separating the backing from the enamel teardrop, or whatever you want to call it. So if the backing comes off, so does the color. So you
Oh,
want to make sure you get underneath them to lift them off, or you'll have to end up sticking that sticker back on the bottom of your pebble. Otherwise, you'll have a clear pebble instead of a gray one. They come in these two colors of gray, and the other ones were like a copper color. And there was enough to give each of you all your pebbles from one little package of embellishments. So you would have at least enough, and there's some more left over yet, at least enough to make 6 cards like this. Lost it, there it is. Okay. So it's kind of lining the path into the field. And then we'll just take some Tombow with our sentiment straight in the middle. All right. And the rest is pretty easy peasy here. We have it. That was my bone folder that took a dive. All right, so you have your standard cardstock base. You're going to have a piece of crushed curry, or you could use Mango Melody or Daffodil Delight. I'm just trying to pick up a little bit of yellow that's in the field of flowers, etc.
okay.
And you don't need to use Tombow. You can, on this part, you can use regular, but I've been having a little trouble getting centered, so I'm opting for the wiggle room of glue. Getting it straight.
Is your back black or is it a dark green?
Pardon?
Is that black or is it a dark green?
Evening Evergreen.
Okay, that's what I thought. It's really pretty.
All right, and then the inside of the card, I didn't put a sentiment, but I did stamp the trees again down in the corner. So just ink up the tree portion of the stamp. You don't need to do the ground portion, and I just put it here where it was a pleasing spot. And I got a halo, so let's do that over on the other side. That's because I squished into my stamp pad instead of tap, tap, tapping.
That's the first rule we learned.
Yeah, tap, 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 no squishy. And now I smudged it with my finger. Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
Turn it over.
Second rule of stamping, I always have a spare piece of paper. Oh, golly. And I'm going to challenge all demonstrators to make sure that they have extra paper for their customers when they come to class, because mistakes happen and it's not their fault.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it is their fault, but you know, mistakes happen. just mount this inside and voila.
Very nice. Beauteous.
And then I did stamp the envelope too. All right. So here's both versions. One you get to see more birds. The other one you get to see more flowers and a path.
You know, on the second card, down towards the bottom, going towards the left side of the card, it almost looks like a path there. So
Yeah.
instead of cutting it in half, you could use one solid piece there. Like you're going this way. Well, you can't really see that.
Oh, you mean the gate? Just
Yeah.
put one half of the gate there
Yeah, at the top
Yeah.
of that.
instead
that-
of cutting it off.
Yeah,
So that would have been down here like so.
right, right.
Yeah.
And just make it look like you're heading that way on the path towards the.
Oh, good
Yeah,
idea.
you could put a
idea.
little bit of a post over here just to make it look like it's
Yeah.
maybe cut it down to 2 over here and the full piece on this side.
And it was just a thought, but I mean, you know, if you're
Yeah.
if you're looking for ways to use the paper, there's an alternative.
Yeah, I don't think it looks bad this way, but I think that's
Oh no, I don't
good.
either. But
I think that's a good option to keep the path in because this looks like it's blocking the path.
Well, and this way too, with those extra pieces that you have of your gates that you cut off,
Yeah,
when you're going to do it again, you can use
just
those.
make it a smaller fence.
yeah. So there you go. So
Nice.
you would get like 4 of those out of 1 or out of 2 sheets of paper then.
Okay.
So 8 out of the whole pack, that particular design pattern. Alrighty. And card number 2. We haven't done an easel card in forever, so I decided that we would make an easel card. And this month I got fancy with the envelopes. Don't ask me why, I did.
It's just fun to do that every once in a while.
Yeah, and I also put a piece of wood grain that matches the wood in the card on the inside and out, and stamp the back of that. And this is the easel. Come back here. Come back here. All righty. So I think I have it here. And this is the pack. You'll get some beautiful, these are the blue rhinestones. They come in a light blue and a dark blue. These are the darks and these are the lights, if you can see the difference.
Pretty.
Really pretty. And a piece of our denim ribbon. And this is cut with the Stitch So Sweetly dies. And then a bunch of parts, which we'll get to. And all your sizes will be on your directions. This one here, this is the card front. All it is a half sheet of your basic white, cut the long way instead of the short way. And we're scored at, I believe it's, yes, 2 1/8, 4 1/4, and 5 1/2. So, and then folded like an accordion. So the point is toward you, the second part is back, and the other one is forward. Now this one here is basically just making it a A2 card instead of a square, because squares, we all know, are more money to mail in the post. So I wanted to make sure it fit in an envelope. And the first thing you're going to do is just glue this flap shut, this section here. And I found out, make sure you have enough glue, but not too much glue because it gushes out when you go like so, and then it makes a mess all over the place. All right, so then we're going to start matting these pieces. Now this piece measures 1.125 by, I believe it's 4 1/8. Yes, 4 1/8, and it's going to fit up here. And everything is going to be an 1/8 in the 1/8 because the original card's on the quarters.
Okay.
So. And if you watch these cards being done on on the internet, everybody uses tweezers to keep their fingers out of the glue. So if you have fingernails that are susceptible to getting wrecked with glue, then go ahead and use some tweezers.
Mine are all broken these days.
And then the matching piece that covers over there is 4 inches by, that should get us back to the 1 inch, 4 inches by 1 inch. On there.
It's pretty paper.
Yeah, this is from the, now I should remember this because I did this yesterday. Heart and Home Designer Series paper. It's from the Love and Happiness suite. And that particular suite, catalog that I had here yesterday. That particular suite comes with 2 bundles in it, 2 stamp sets. It comes with the Blessings of Home, which is where I got the flower from. And then it comes from the Bumblebee Happiness, I think it's called, stamp set, and matching dies for each one. I didn't get into bumblebees this time, just got into flowers.
Yeah, see, that's the
It's
bumblebee
toward
one
the
that
back of the catalog.
that's one I've got down is the bumblebee part of it.
All right, the next layer is 2 inches by 4 1/8. Ooh. On the Misty Moonlight cardstock. And then on the front of the card, it just gets a panel like that. So that measures 4 by, I bet you that's 1 7/8. It is. And you can go to the inside and put your other mat that goes here. There's actually an 2 inside sentiments. The front tag says, "A wonderful marriage is the collection of many small happy moments." Then on the inside, it here's to another year of love, laughter, and happily ever after. And then, of course, the happy anniversary there. And those are all from the Love and Happiness stamp set. Which is part of some bundle.
Aren't they all bundles these days?
I know.
Yeah.
It's part of the Love and Happiness, or Love and Happiness.
Here's the stamp set. It's all,
It is called Love and Happiness.
yeah, and it's all sentiment, so it's really nice.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and then so we have to stamp now. The second card is going to be stamped with that. Here's to another year. And we're going to stamp in Misty Moonlight. Reminds me of the boho chic paper that we had last year, this kind of design in the blue and white, kind of Delft look.
Mhm.
See if I can get this straight. Maybe. Not bad. And off to the side, we'll need it again. But like it's mounted there then. A lot of Tombow this month I've used. And I tend to use Tombow on borders that are small so that I can have that wiggle room. All right, so we'll put that aside for a little bit and get to work over here on these things. So these measure 2 7/8 square, and these measure 2 3/4 square. So we're going to put them on their respective mounts. And this wood grain paper is on the back of each side of the paper that's in that pack. So if you're going to make a bunch of blue cards, you're going to want to cut something other than the blue to get the wood grain. So that's why I did what I did here. There's different wood grain patterns. Some have no, some just look like planks. Some look like subway tiles. Some look like on a diagonal, but your choice as to which ones you pick there. So those are those backings. And then you have 2 of these and 2 of these. And these measure 2 inches square on the DSP, an inch and 7. Nope, an inch and 3/4 on the DSP. And we're going to cut those in half to make triangles. And if you're one lucky person got the triangles already cut, I don't know which one it was. So let me know.
Do we get a special prize if they are?
Yeah, I should do that, shouldn't I? Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. If you were the one with the lucky one that had the ones with the triangles already cut, you'll get a Stampin' Up! Scrap bin for your desktop.
There you go.
Filled with scraps?
Well, I could do that too. All right, so on this DSP, you think it's, but if you turn it this way, you see it kind of looks oblong instead of the other way because it matches up this way. So whichever, cut them both the same. It'll look better on your card. So I'm going to put them this way and then cut them this way. And I'm going to try to cut both in the same direction. Now that's a real anal thing for me to look at, but you know, that's just me.
Well, makes sense.
It does actually.
It does make a difference to my eye. All right, and then you'll mount these triangles up on there. respective pieces so that they are also in the same kind of orientation. Ugh. Let's see. I messed up on the first one. Let's see if I can get straightened out on the second one. And then these are going to go this way. So I think it makes a difference which piece of paper you get too as to which way to cut it. So it's kind of like weird. All right, so that's the way I'm going to glue them down.
She's sticking to it.
What's that?
And you're sticking to it.
Yeah. Well, you'll see if you watch the first video, I stuck to it a little too long, if you know.
You needed those tweezers, huh?
Well, no, I kept on trying to turn the paper to make it the right orientation. And I just said, well, I'm just going to have to leave it for now because I can't deal. I couldn't deal with it. One of the pieces just, it's like I glued the wrong side of the paper or something. It's like backwards. How I did it, I do not know. So. All right, so this is where you're going to, the next step, you're going to need to get out your little pencil just to make some tick marks. And your pencil should have a good eraser. All right, so the deal with this thing is they have small borders. And because of that, see if I can get a medallion on the outside edge on all of them. See how I did that?
No, you didn't. Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah, but see, that would bother me.
Good. You're good.
Yeah, I don't know what I did wrong. Again, you know, go figure. Anyway, I'm not going to let it
Got a medallion edge on the outside of each of them there.
Yeah. All right, so the deal is that you're going to put this in with a small border around, but it needs to be invisible when you close this flap down. Hey, so it looks like I did pretty good there. So I'm going to, this is where I would take my pencil and draw a little tick mark. I'm just going to take the corner of my piercing tool and just nick it a little bit with a mark that I can see. Yes, that'll work. And this one in, marking up with the mark and mark. And equal distance around the edges. Then all these other ones should just glue in place. Should. And you see, I'm not even looking. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I ran out of Misty Moon, had just enough to get kits for the class done. And then I had to, for my samples, use a different blue that I had. I think it's Dapper Denim. All right. Now, if you should, for some reason, get this slightly off, you still have a little wiggle room when you put the last piece of, it's fine. but you had a little wiggle room because you could have moved this to cover any
Mhm.
outside stuff. So that's where we'll work next. Then in your kit, you're going to get a blank cutout. Yours will be blank. And a stencil to put it in to line it up on your Stamparatus. You're going to get this ribbon, which is what we're going to work with next. I'm going to put 3 strips of stickiness across there. And we're going to, there's 12 inches of ribbon here. We're just going to make like a zigzag. And of course, that one is nowhere near where it needs to be. So we'll just roll that glue off. That's what's wonderful about some adhesive. They need to be a little closer together than I had them. Right. That. I like it that way. And then we'll cut off the excess ribbon, sides. All right, so that will be a piece. And then we're going to take and stamp that flower from the Blessings of Home, and we'll color it in. And I used light and dark, midnight, no, misty moonlight. I used light and dark, so succulent, and I used daffodil light. So light and dark. You can do, if you choose to do this with your Stampin' Write markers, make sure you stamp the original image with StazOn, because alcohol markers will smudge water-based ink, and water-based markers will smudge alcohol inks. And there's some tiny little flowers down here that I did in yellow. A little bouquet of forget-me-nots or whatever. And then I went over the light with a dark for some shading. Did the centers with the dark. Centers of each of these with dark. And I'm not going to go through doing the greenery, but it would be colored with the light and dark, so succulent or whatever other greens you may have, so that the flower looks like that. And you also want to stamp one of these flowers on your envelope and then color it in. But when you're coloring it, if you're using alcohol markers, slide something inside of here because it does bleed through. I don't know if you can see it in there. It does bleed through a little. No, it does bleed through a little bit. You don't want to have your card at least inside of there while you're doing that. And then this would get popped up with dimensionals on the front. All right, and then I'm just going to stick just a tiny bit of stickiness here just to keep this all together. I'm not really done with it, but this would be on dimensionals here. And then you're going to stamp that sentiment from the Saints Love and Happiness, and it's marriage is a collection of nuts. And And it will get stamped like so. And turned into a label like so, by just cutting a little flagtail in the end. And then I put dimensionals on each end, but in the center, remember this is going to be popped up on dimensionals so that it sits flat against the flower. You put a little bit of glue right in the middle. So dimensional on each end and glue in the middle. And then you can span it across there and it'll stick to the flower and the dimensionals will stick where they need to. And then of course you have your rhinestones. I put 2 rhinestones on the outside here. And then I put 2 on what they call the easel stop on the inside, which we're going to do next. As soon as I get rid of the yuck on my fingers. I don't think that'll transfer now. All right, so this is cut what the Stitch So Sweetly dies. Now we're going to stamp it with the stamp from the Love and Happiness stamp set. And it actually says, "Happy anniversary, my love." Well, I just wouldn't use that phrase, "my love," to even my husband. I just wouldn't say it that way. I'd say honey or something like that. So what I decided to do was take out my marker and just color the part of the stamp that I do want to use, which is happy anniversary. The script on here is really pretty. So I still wanted to use the stamp. Just
So that way you could use it as a anniversary card for anybody.
right. Not just to your significant other or whatnot. I would use the side of your tip a little bit.
Mhm.
Just help spread that ink. Then you're going to
Yeah, it's better coverage that way.
Yeah.
warm it up with your breath. And then try to center. Alrighty. And then a rhinestone on each corner. And then I'll show you how you adjust the dimensional, the label in there. Gosh, I'm all thumbs.
Looks like you're all fingertips for me.
Right.
Funny what a little nail polish does to your grip. So you'll be taking your flower thing and gluing it on here by putting glue on the flap. Put your glue on the flap so you don't over glue your piece that you're mounting. And if you can see here, these planks are going this way. These planks are going the opposite way. That's just one of my quirks of doing something a little off balance and quirky. All right, so that would be on there. And it'd be all colored real pretty like this one. And then you'll get out your, they call this an easel stop. And you're going to place this on here so that these 2 corners are just inside of the border of that. So it's also invisible when the card is closed. All right. And then your card will stand up like so. All right. So that's the works of it. Stands up like that. It is with its prettiness, with its rhinestones. I stamped another one on here and colored it. And then I also gave you a piece of wood grain paper to use to make an envelope flap if you like. If you'd rather use that piece for something else, that's fine too. To make a flap, it's not rocket science either. You just put some glue on the flap. Little ringy tone.
Yeah, that phone screwed up my picture too. I can't get back to I just see 4 small pictures.
And then you lay it on so that the paper is right next to the crease. And then turn it over. And easy peasy, just, okay, so then after you have the wood grain on there, you just ink up your flower from the Flowers of Home stamp set. And I used tuxedo black. You could also use some basic gray, but I like the a little bit more defined look with the black. The gray looks kind of muted. And then I just found a pleasing place to stamp it, I think, like so. I didn't really take much care in how I did it. I just stamped it on there. All right. And then, of course, coloring the flower in the front.
Pretty fancy.
Pretty fancy, yep. And it's not hard. It's just a lot of pieces, and it's not hard unless you have to cut the piece, unless you have to do the cutting, which is still not all that hard, but you know.
Time consuming.
Tedious. All right. So this next card uses another piece of the New Horizons DSP, and it's actually going to be this piece here. And I'll show you in a little bit what we do with that. The sample card is over here. And I've made 2 of them so far, so I'll show you how they. There's one. There's the other.
I need about 6 of those right now.
Oh,
You have enough. You have enough in your set to make 8 in your paper. And I do, if you like want it really bad, I do have an unopened package of the paper here. And this heartfelt love and caring thoughts are with you came from Quiet Meadow on the inside, and the outside.
that's an old one, right? Quiet Meadow.
No, it's in the annual catalog.
Yeah, but I mean that was one.
This one.
Oh, I don't know if they have that or not.
So I used the heartfelt love from there, and the with sympathy came out of the celebration set, special moments. So if you happen to get that, that's where the with sympathy came from.
I got plenty of with sympathies.
Yeah. So samples over here a little bit. And you will see this is a piece that is I ran out of the Misty Moonlight paper, so I'm subbing my sample with that, with this particular color, which is not so far off. So this is the card base, and it's just a 5.5 by 4 1/4. So a quarter sheet of colored cardstock. This piece is 2 3/4 by 11, and then it's folded and scored and folded at 5.5. You got a piece of twine. You got 3 of the brown stone petals. You have a gate that is like crumb cake. And then you have an inside layer and an outside layer. And you have a strip of this DSP. And I'll show you that that is an 1/8 of an inch shy of 5.5. So that's going to be 5 3/8. So you have to kind of decide where on this piece of paper you'd like to take that from. I think this came from here. I believe I didn't take anything off the bottom. I took all the length off the top. But this is like piece 1. And then this would be the matching piece 2. And you want to kind of keep them together, because if you got this on one side and then tried to line it up with this, see the color difference? Your eye won't. It'll travel some if it were over here, maybe. So what I did on the back is I marked these right and left. So
Thank you.
you're, yes. So your right-hand side one is going to get glued to the right-hand side of the card base. And I think this Dapper Denim kind of matches just as well as the Misty Moonlight. So if you, for some reason, outside of your kit don't have Misty Moonlight and you want to make some more, you can use Midnight Muse, you can use Night of Navy, you could use any kind of dark blue that you have. Dapper Denim would be good. I don't think like Island Indigo would work. Maybe. You could also go to the greens, or like the Evening Evergreen, because there is some green in here. And then this is pale papaya. So if you want to match it up that way. And that's all you do to the card back. That's it. So on the card front, I have the seagrass set up in Stamparatus. And I will stamp that. So we're going to stamp the seagrass, the With Sympathy, and the birds. And then we're going to run it through textured impression, textured, no, Tasteful Textiles embossing folder. I'm sorry, I get that messed up all the time. And we're going to stamp the seagrass with Old Olive. Olive needs to be re-inked. Let's see how we got enough there. It's pretty good. I'm going to turn the plate over. That's wrong plate. That's why. On this particular one, it gets put into, you'll have to put your foam sheet in there, unless you have 2 Misties like me. I mean, 2 Stamparatus. I'm going to get in trouble. So, with sympathy, I just put all the way over here. Magnet up top. I found my Misty Moonlight. Sympathy. I find that I set things up in the Stamper. Ooh, did you see that happen? Oh, I dropped the lid in it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The paper had moved. Wasn't careful. That's what I get when I'm in a hurry. What was I saying before? Sidetracked. My magnets are falling up. I'm gonna have to put the seagrass back on. My computer does not like this notepad.
doesn't like what?
This notepad.
Ah,
I'm using an Asus notepad for the camera. It does not like it. So let's take that out of there. Then we're going to stamp birds. And we're going to clean off the black from the first go around. And we're going to stamp the birds with Misty Moonlight. We are going to make sure they're flying right. Heads up.
make sure they're not flying upside down.
Do not want any southbound flyers. All right, and then we're going to try to get the embossing down here. The Tasteful Textiles embossing folder. I always call this Tastefully Simple. And then I mix up the paper, the In Good Taste paper. I call that Tastefully Simple too.
Well, I mean, it does make sense.
So if any of you know somebody who would like to purchase a Big Shot, let me know. I have 2 Big Shots. One is a Stampin' Up! Big Shot. The other is just the Sizzix. Both the same machine, just different colors. And then I have a Big Kick, which has fallen down the stairs, but the inside is really good and it's been glued together. But it works perfectly. Could go really cheap if somebody wanted it. All right, so in your kit is a piece of, should be a piece of no, I swear. Well, there it is. And it's stamped with the stamp from the New Horizon stamp set, just to make it look watery. You could also take the stamp from maybe High Tide
Yeah.
and use it. That would be a good one to stamp it with. All right, so this is just going to get placed right here under the seagrass. And since you're attaching to something that's embossed, you'll want to, for your best result, to use liquid Tombow glue. Okay, so that just goes right there. Now you'll see on this one that I wasn't happy with this little gap in the white right here. So I went on these two and took my Old Olive Stampin' Blend and marked in there. I don't know that I didn't really like, when I did it, I really didn't care for it after I did it. So what you could do if you're not totally thrilled with that is you could take that seagrass stamp and stamp a little bit more over here and a little bit more over here.
Sure.
This one I'm just going to leave. And we'll take our sponge dauber and some crumb cake ink. And we're going to distress the fence. We're going to make it look like a fence that's been sitting out near
Weathered.
near the
Weathered.
sea. It's going to be definitely weathered, and I said out in the rain and snow, and then I thought, oh, beach. Not too many beaches have snow.
Salt air.
So I
Salt
changed.
air will do it.
So we'll make it look a little bit weathered. And then when you stick it on the card, it's going to look a little dilapidated too. Like if it was at Lynn's residence, they would say, we have to come fix that fence.
What?
You have to come fix the fence. All right, now to put this on here, what I'm going to do is give it a little bend. You will see that in here, there's a gap behind here. It's big enough to put the bottom of your scissor handle in there. So if you're worried about sending that card, glue your fence flat. And you could make it look like it's in the right place by trimming off the bottom to match up with the water. But I thought I liked the dimension a little bit. So when you do that, you kind of get this soft in your hand. And you're going to glue down one picket on each side. And I put a little bit of Tombow just on the bottom of the picket. And I actually took my scissors and laid it here. And wrapped this fence so that the bottoms were even with the water. And when they started to stick and set, pulled the scissors away, glued this side down, and then this side down. Okay, and then you still have that
Little gap.
little depth to it. Okay. And then in your kit, you'll have a piece of, you really will have a piece of seagrass that's been cut out. All right, so you'll have a piece of seagrass, and this is cut from, like I said, it's cut from a piece of this paper. That's all I did. Comes right out of there.
Hmm.
Okay, and there's a die in the set to cut that. In the Horizon dies. And I'm just going to put some glue along the bottom here. And a couple little blades of grass. And then we're going to stick this on here and put it level with the water. Okay. And some pebbles. You can't have a fence without some pebbles in front of it. Let's see if getting them off this way any easier. Maybe. Maybe. Seems like I'm having a little bit better luck with scissors getting under there instead of the tweezers. Probably would be perfect. All right. And then the string is going to come next, and I'm doing that because the designer that I copied this from, she mounted this on here, and then it's almost like an afterthought. She mounted the string around, and you can see the string when you open the card. And you know me, that just didn't sit well, so I made it so that when you open the card, it does not show. So you have to put some adhesive back here to kind of catch the back of that. So give yourself enough to tie a bow left and go around twice. You could wrap this around and then add a bow. I did not this time. Couldn't get it to act right, so tying the bow. Oh, I'm trying to tie a bow. Here's the first part of the knot, and I missed. Now, when you tie this to get it tight, you got to be careful you don't tear the paper over here and over here. So I'm going to put just a tiny dot of Tombow on here to catch the knot when it happens. And I'm going to tie the bow. Maybe. That worked out well.
Good.
And trim off a little bit of the excess. These aren't sharp, I shouldn't use them. All right, and then again, because this is embossed, you'll want to use some liquid glue to mount it. I would anyway, if you want it to stay. Wonder what it is about embossing, but I do know that the Tombow gets in all the nooks and crannies. Okay, this just gets centered on its front piece here. And you have your card front. All right, and then you're going to find your seagrass stamp that you put in your stamparatus. And I'm going to pull it off of the stamparatus. And I'm going to put it on a block. And I'm going to on the interior piece, the card. And I'm going to stamp Seagrass like so on the bottom with Old Olive again. And the stamp is bigger than the paper, so you'll just put it on there where you think it's beautiful. And you have your grass stamped. And then I do have mine.
Don't forget to stamp your envelope.
Yeah, that's mounted up in my stamparatus. Okay, and that's going to use Miss Moonlight again. That didn't work. That did though. Alrighty, and then we'll find our inside piece here. Make sure it's dry before you turn it over. Didn't line that up right. Not terribly, but it's a little. Okay, and then this piece just gets glued center in there. And that's all there is to that. I did put this on with glue so that I could have the wiggle room to make sure it was on there correctly. And I do it by standing both pieces on something flat and then looking up here at the top, and trying to make that equal distance on both sides. Press. Okay, that's it. All righty. So I call this Seaside Sympathy.
That's a pretty card.
I
Right.
like it. And she made it as a thinking of you. I made it as a sympathy, but it also could be a birthday, masculine birthday.
Could be, yeah, it could be used for a lot of different things.
Yes, definitely. And I need to check that for missing parts. All right, so our last card is a Valentine. It's Happy Valentine's Day, friend. And again, if you don't want to put friend on there, I wouldn't know why you wouldn't, but if it's maybe for your husband, you could just ink up the portion of the stamp that you want to use. And this particular pattern is cut with a new system that Stampin' Up! Came out with. It's called a hybrid embossing folder. Comes together in a package. This is the Bouquet of Love hybrid embossing folder. It comes with a die set, a small die set. I don't know why they put it in such a big package, except that maybe they wanted to match it up with the size of the embossing folder. This out of there, but I didn't. And I'll pull out the embossing folder. So the embossing folder has a heart shape in the middle. And what you do is yes, this way. You open up your dies, and there is like a groove here. I don't know if you can see that very well. Does that help any? You see that little track around there? It's actually indented. You really can't see it too well, but you will in a second. The die from the die set, the heart, just fits right inside there and sits in that little track.
Ah,
Now, if you have the Eden's Garden Suite, this also has a hybrid embossing folder in there as well. So then you just take a piece of paper. And I have marked mine down here. I laid the center of the heart like this, right on this line on the grid. And then I went 2 inches out because your layer of your card is 4 inches wide. It's 4 inch by 5 1/4. So I marked it like that and I closed it. And when you put it through the embossing machine, even though your card goes like this, you have to put the fold of the embossing folder in first. So that's an important reminder. They also suggest that you cut it this way. Why? I don't know. But that's the way I cut it. And when it comes out, you get 2 embossed pieces. This is in the middle. This comes out and it's stitched around the edge just like the die.
wow.
And then you have this piece that you can save for another card, or you can embellish the inside of your card, which I decided to do on this one like this. I took you can either use your blender brush or your sponge dauber and blush the inside of your heart and put it there. Or you can make it on a completely different card. So I don't think you need to see me lug that through the embossing machine, but basically that's what you do. And then you will have, in your kit, you'll have some beautiful iridescent rhinestones. They're kind of a pinkish. Can you see the pink on them? Which way do I go? This way. There.
Yeah.
They're really pretty. Especially if you have the whole package in front of you. So that's what I put on the flowers on the front. And then you'll have a label to stamp your Happy Valentine's Day friend. Now, I tried it first with my first card sample, stamping it with the same color as the card base. This is Blushing Bride. And I just didn't think that that popped up enough as far as color went. So I took an old retired color called Regal Rose, and I stamped it with Regal Rose, and it seems to pop up a little better. Also, the inside sentiment pops up nicely on the card. So if you want to use Blushing Bride, it will work. But I suggest using a little bit darker color pink than Blushing Bride. I don't remember what's current out. You could use like Magenta Madness, or you could just go, you know, traditional Valentine colors and use red. That would work nicely too. So this is Happy Valentine's Day, Friend, from, which set is this from? This is from the, it's probably like Itty Bitty Greetings or something like that. It's small.
It's from Love and Happiness.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. All right, so we're going to take the heart panel and glue it down with some Tombow again. I'm going to have to restock the Tombow here. I'm going to call Stampin' Up! And see if they will get the Tombow XL in stock instead of just the Tombow, the small one. The Tombow XL has about half as much more glue added to it for not much more of the cost, at least what I'm seeing on the Tombow website. Problem is you have to buy a pack of 10. So it's okay. So then you have a piece of gold thread. You have some choices. On this one, I took the gold thread and separated its strands out. So you actually have two real skinny strands of gold thread. This one, I have one strand of gold thread. I kind of like the one strand just as well as the other. So you kind of just fold this back and forth into a sort of a blob, I guess. I don't know, this is sort of all the rage now to have this stuff sticking out from everywhere. Doesn't mean you need to use it at all. You could use something else entirely. And I put a dimensional in the middle before I glued the thing down. So you want to put your gold thread in there first. Maybe, if you want to use gold thread. And then put a dimensional over the top of it to hold it in place. And then kind of pull it and mess with it until you get it to look something like what you think would be pretty. And then you just stick the label on the heart wherever you like. You could put it down here. I didn't try it down there. Let's try it down there this time.
Okay.
Yeah, the big experimenter today. And then in the die set cuts everything out that you see, all these little flowers and the leaves. So you've got two sides. Oh, let me just show you what's in the die set. It's a small set, but it has those along with the heart that cuts out the front piece. All right. And this is a really nice label. We'll find some itty bitty greetings that would fit in there. And I think this time,
For my wife and for my husband fit in there, according to the booklet.
for your what?
Where it says for my wife and for my husband. In
Oh,
the-
from the same stamp set, huh? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that. You're looking at the catalog.
I'm in the catalog, yeah.
All right, so
But I'm sure a lot of the stuff on the itty bitties will fit in there.
Yeah, the itty bitties are itty bitty, aren't they? And I meant to put a leaf under there.
Yeah.
We'll go for it. And up here in the one corner on the die is a flower that this will just lay right on top of and match.
Maybe.
But it didn't stick because it stuck to my finger.
Might need a glue.
Oh dear. And let's see, let's put this one. Let's see over here this time. Since I moved the label, it needs to go in a different spot. And then I need the gems, which I put somewhere that I was showing them to you. There they are. I'll take them off with my. I was going to say take a pick tool, but evidently when I used it last, I put it down somewhere that I don't know. You have one large one and two small ones, so you're going to go likewise on the flowers. Or not. You may want to think of something else that you could put in behind there too. Maybe one of these flowers cut out in white.
There you go.
Yeah, there would complete the look a little bit more. Okay. And then the centerpiece is just the Where Would I Be Without a Friend Like You? And that is from the Special Moments Celebration stamp set. You can find some other Valentine message that you want to send. Since this said to a friend, that's what I decided to do. And then, like I said, I sponge daubered the heart that was cut out with a blending brush, or you could use, if you want to use a blending brush, it takes a little bit longer for it to pick up the color and spread it around, but it works a little nicer. When I started using the sponge dauber, you'll see it made those blobs, and it wasn't doing that with the brush. So I would recommend the brush if you want it to look even. If you don't really care, use the sponge dauber. Okay, so that's those. And I didn't put anything on the envelope this time, but you certainly could. You could have, I don't know if they would allow that. You could actually, it doesn't quite fit on the flap, but you could put it down here, I think. That might be a good alternative as well. Any questions?
No. Not on the cards.
All righty then. I'm going to stop the recording, and if we have any other chit chat, we can do that. Let's see, stop.